Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Sam's Longboard podcast with me, Dan, as I attempt to preview tomorrow's Champions League must-win game between both teams, really, between my team, Liverpool, as we host Rangers. Huge game in the Champions League. Rangers currently sit bottom of the group with nil points, and Liverpool have lost one away from home in Naples, a humiliating, devastating, awful defeat. And then we managed to beat Ajax just before the international break. And what was a really, really good performance, maybe a bit of a false dawn as Liverpool fans would look at that. Good performance leading on to something. And then we obviously saw the dross at the weekend up against Brighton. So this is going to be a really hard game to preview. I'm going to try and do a bit of a starting 11 that I think that I personally would go with, and maybe see what Jurgen Klopp would do as well. So I'm just going to share some of my thoughts. But first of all, if you're new to this channel, firstly, hello, my name is Dan. I'm a Liverpool fan. Definitely give us a subscribe if you enjoy our videos, if you enjoy some football content. Comment down below any footballing topics that you would like me or Chris. Chris is usually on this podcast. Well, he's sometimes on this podcast, not usually. Any topics that you would like us to discuss. I am a Liverpool fan, but I'm happy to discuss a whole range of footballing topics. Equally, if you ever feel brave with a camera being on you, if you want to join me on a podcast, that would be amazing. And if you ever just wanted to make a video yourself, something that you're happy about or maybe unhappy about in the footballing world, but you don't want to do a football channel, just message me the video and I'll happily upload it. So this is a channel for every single kind of football fan, except for Man United fans. They can go away. But no, I'm going to try and preview Liverpool up against Rangers tomorrow night. It is an absolute must-win. We don't really know, as Liverpool fans, what we're going to get at this current moment in time. What we're certainly going to get is the dogged 4-3-3, the high line, the attempt of a high press. And I just hope that this Liverpool team are able to snap out of this lull, this almost comatose performances that we're really seeing at the start of the season. All does not seem to be well inside Anfield at this current moment of time. Virgil van Dijk himself came out, I think it was after the game, seemed to hint maybe a little bit of disharmony in the squad, or maybe frustration with Jurgen Klopp. Seemed to sort of critique the high line, commenting that maybe the high line itself was what a large part of the reason why we kept conceding goals and kept us sort of largely dropping points. There's also, if you saw the game against Brighton, large moments in the game where Jurgen Klopp was distinctively really unhappy with Fabinho in particular, really screaming at him. And judging by reports, Fabinho apparently just casually ignored him, was just like, I'm not going to listen to this guy, until the point where it became, impossible to ignore him. And then he actually sort of told him where to go. So I've been told that I've read that this is all been smoothed over, and people in the comment section on social media said that this is normal for a football club. It doesn't seem normal. I haven't seen anything like this really in Jurgen Klopp's tenure, or certainly over the last 4 or 5 years. So this doesn't seem normal for this group of players. I don't really know what's happening. There was a press conference today with Jurgen Klopp. A lot of what he said sounded a little bit worrying. He sort of seemed to dismiss that there needed to be a change in tactics. Really just saying that basically we just need to play better. The tactics that him, and in particular, the one and only Mr. Intensity, Pep Lingers, who personally I feel is it really does need to be looked upon, what this man does at this football club, because I don't like it. I don't like this man, Pep Lingers. Maybe a little bit harsh, don't actually know the guy, but he seems to be having an awful lot of power and control at this football club right now. And if you've ever followed this man's career, he was a brilliant youth team coach at Liverpool. He then left a couple of years ago. He went to go and manage a club level in Holland, and he was sacked very, very quickly. Only lasted a couple of months because of very similar tactics. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a complete expert on Pep Lingers and Dutch football and all of this, but by all accounts of stuff, people have been doing threads on social media and really interesting articles. The way that his team were playing was very, very similar to the way that this Liverpool team are playing right now. This high line, very heavy with fullbacks playing into midfield and just conceding so many goals. This does seem to have been, it hasn't been overnight. We've seen with each passing year, Trent Alexander-Arnold's position in particular has really sort of moved further and further and further inward, which sounds great the idea of getting on the ball and creating all these chances, but when it's not working and when the team are able to get the ball and play through us with such ease, alarm bells are ringing. And personally, I would love for a tactical change, whether it's a formation setup or whether it's just dropping back 5 or 6 yards or just something slightly different has to change. But judging by Jurgen Klopp's comments, that's not going to happen. There's also been another couple of bizarre comments over the last couple of days, talking about the Brighton game, that he couldn't prepare for the game because it's a brand new manager. That doesn't fly with me. I think that's a bizarre thing, a really, really bizarre thing to go and say, that you can't prepare for a game because it's a brand new manager. I'm not being funny, mate. You paid the big bucks to be able to make those decisions in the game, to be able to react quickly, and we couldn't. And before we knew it, we were 2-0 down. And he's also come out to say, we could have won the game. We should have won the game. God, we were lucky to get a draw. So strange goings on for me. Inside the football club that I absolutely love to bits. I really hope Jurgen Klopp is still the man to take us forward, but it's hard to really big him up at this moment in time, because we all know Jurgen Klopp loves an excuse. But the tactics, the setup from this team at this moment, it just seems like we're handing the opposition, we're giving them the upper hand, so to say. We're really just saying, there you go 1-0 up, go 2-0 up at this point in a football game. So it's really hard to, well, you know how good Jurgen Klopp is. And maybe I've been a bit harsh on Pep Lingers over the last couple of videos, but he seems to have a lot of responsibility at this football club. He seems to be getting more and more and more and more. And with his managerial record in the past, I think it is a little bit of a worry. But anyway, I'm getting distracted as per usual. In front of you, I hope you guys can see this. Hope the screen is sharing all properly. This is going to be my starting 11 for Liverpool tomorrow night up against Rangers. We don't really know what team Rangers are going to set up. By all accounts, they could potentially have up to 9 first-team players out injured. So this really should be a game. And I don't want to disrespect Rangers here. They are a very good club. They are a historically fantastic football team. And they got to the Europa League final last year. So this should not, I won't imagine this being a walkover tomorrow night, even if Liverpool were in form. And I'm kind of dreading the return game at the Ibrox, because it's just going to be intense. And we know that this Liverpool team right now absolutely loves to melt and fold. However, if you look at the resources between both teams, and especially if Rangers do have up to 9 players out injured, even if both teams had their first starting 11s, you would go Liverpool at Anfield against Rangers. They should win. They should win without too many issues. You look at the money that Liverpool have, you look at the resources available, you look at the caliber of player compared to what Rangers have available, it really should be night and day. However, we know that football is not played on paper, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which team you are supporting. But anyway, I can hear you. Let's stop me from rambling on, and let's jump straight into this. So I've left 4 players on to start off with, because I feel like these are kind of guaranteed. I believe that Robertson is still out injured or isn't at 100%, so Kostas Tsimikas will come back in. He will start again. I felt a little bit harsh for him in the last game. I don't think he really deserved to be subbed off after, an hour or so. Maybe it's precautionary because, like I said, Robertson is out injured currently, so we do need to make sure that Tsimikas manages to stay fit. Equally, a lot of people said he had a really poor game at home to Brighton at the weekend. I didn't think he had a poor game. I don't think he had a good game. I think he was kind of average. And when Diaz came on, the two of them started to build up a bit of a connection, and then Jurgen Klopp took him off. And it's not the first time that has happened this season. It was very similar away at Everton. So hopefully Kostas Tsimikas will start. Hopefully he'll be bombing down that left-hand side, creating a number of chances against this Rangers team, and hopefully just building up a bit more confidence. In goal, of course, it has to be Alisson Becker, our player of the season for me. Let me know in the comments down below, guys, who you think your player of the season is. I can't really think of too many other options right now. Maybe Harvey Elliott, but I think Alisson Becker's been head and shoulders our best player, which is worrying because we conceded 3 goals last time. We conceded 4 goals away at Napoli, and he was probably our best player in so many of these performances. In defence, in the heart of defence, it's going to be Virgil van Dijk. Now, maybe a player that could come out of the starting 11, understandably so at this moment in time. I think a fair few people are saying he does not deserve to be starting games. I think that's fair enough. He has been very, very poor. Lack of intensity, lack of drive, lack of aggression, whatever it is, the high line. I don't know what it is, but something is very, very off with Virgil van Dijk this season. And I did ponder the idea of taking him out and maybe just giving him a little bit of a rest, because obviously he went away, played for Holland. But we don't really have any other options. Maybe if Konate was a little bit further along with his fitness, you could take Virgil van Dijk out and chuck Konate in this game to give him his first start. However, we only really have Matip and Gomez right now. And, Gomez could potentially be used at right back to really cover Trent Alexander-Arnold. So Virgil van Dijk for me has to start. Next to him, I'm going to go with Joe Gomez. I'm going to bring him back. Ideally, I'd have Joel Matip. I think Van Dijk and Matip is our best defensive partnership. Probably when everyone is fit, I'd still go with those two, although Konate is really, really pushing Matip. He certainly was last season. Gomez and Van Dijk, we've seen it a couple of times this season, hasn't really worked. The game away at Manchester United in particular was a massive worry. However, up against the level of quality that Rangers possess, I feel that these two should be able to handle it. Famous last words. But Gomez does deserve to come back into the fray. I don't think we've really seen him since that horrendous first half performance against Napoli. But I think he deserves his opportunity to come back in. But also, primarily, you've got to rest Matip. This is a busy month, or it's a busy couple of months, really, up until the World Cup. We want to make sure we can keep as many of these players as fit as humanly possible. We can't add more injuries to this horrendous start to the season that Liverpool have had. So Matip is a key player. One eye massively fixed on the weekend as we go away to the Emirates to the most informed team in the Premier League right now, Arsenal. Matip has to play that game, because I wouldn't want to see Joe Gomez up against Gabriel Jesus and Martinelli and Saka and all of this lot. And I certainly wouldn't want to chuck Konate in his first game of the season away at an informed Arsenal. So Gomez starts tomorrow night for me against Rangers, and then Matip comes back in at the weekend. And that means that right back, Mr. Trent Alexander-Arnold keeps his place. Maybe a little bit undeserved. I'd say massively undeserved if he does keep his place. But just lack of options. Ramsey is still out. I believe he's back in training now. But whether Jurgen Klopp will chuck a teenager in a Champions League night, a big must-win game against decent opposition, very, very unlikely. So Trent Alexander-Arnold for me is going to start this game. And maybe if Matip and Konate were both fit, you could move Gomez to right back and either probably play a Konate. But because he's still injured, I think you have to just keep playing Trent until a few more players get back from injury, and hopefully he can play himself into form. A massive hopefully there. Defensive midfield. Controversial, maybe. There's no real alternative to Fabinho, in my opinion, within the squad. Probably Jordan Henderson is he's probably the only other player that could probably play that number 6 within the first team. Obviously, we do have that youth player, Bajcetic, but Jurgen Klopp's not going to, and understandably is not going to, chuck in a teenager in at this point. So we were unable to bring in a defensive midfielder over the summer for other reasons. Players wanted to join Real Madrid and so on and so on. So Jordan Henderson can play that position. I think he played there away at Manchester United, and he was pretty poor. But Fabinho for me right now is off the pace, hugely off the pace. He's proving to be a bit of a hindrance in this team. In an ideal world, I think Trent would be dropped and Fabinho would be dropped, but we don't quite have the cover or the options to replace Trent. Whereas I do feel that we got, a little bit more cover for Fabinho, arguably, within Jordan Henderson. So Jordan Henderson plays on that left-hand side of the midfield three. For me, would be the maestro Thiago. He was really poor at the weekend, uncharacteristically poor against Brighton. And it just goes to show that when either Thiago is injured or he's out of form or he's playing poorly or whatever, this Liverpool team really, really do struggle. But he's had the international break off. He's also missed quite a few games this season with injury. So I fully expect that he should be able to play, or hopefully will be able to play 3 games this week. He is an absolute must for the Arsenal game. So maybe 60, 65 minutes. Hopefully, we're a couple of goals up and it's relatively simple tomorrow night, and then we can take him off. But Thiago starts for me with Jordan Henderson in behind. And that means with the right centre midfield, I fully expect someone like a Harvey Elliott to come in. However, I'm going to give a first start to this guy, Arthur Melo. I just want to see what he can do. Really, I really do. And the reason why I've gone for that midfield 3 is I feel like it could potentially dominate Rangers. And if we can give them some minutes, and in particular, Arthur and Thiago, if these two can gel and form a partnership and just dominate the ball. I think it would really, really help this Liverpool team, because it's just pinball in the middle of the park for me, including Jordan Henderson. Just an inability really to control the football, to keep the football under pressure. Even when we're not under pressure at times, it's just so many unforced mistakes. And that's not going to help the defense. We haven't seen Arthur really in a Liverpool shirt, other than just the odd cameo here and there, I believe. But he's worked really, really hard on the international break. He didn't go away on holiday. He's worked with the youth team. He's obviously hired personal trainers and personal doctors and all of this to really get his fitness up. So this shows to me a player who is absolutely determined to come into this Liverpool team and really sort of, just make his mark with us. He's not here just... It's not like a loan deal where someone's just here just to earn their money and play a little bit of football here and there. He's really determined to play for this football team. You can tell he wants to be here, and I want to see what he can do. He is a fantastic talent. So if him and Thiago tomorrow night can start the game, can dominate this Rangers team, that would be absolutely fantastic. And maybe could be something that we could go away at Arsenal too as well, or against Manchester City. The game. God, these games are horrendous. Just thinking about them, but big games. Our midfield struggles anyway, but really does struggle to keep the ball. Champions League final was a big one, up against the likes of Kroos, Modric, Casemiro, and so on and so on. So Arthur has that in his locker, and if he does that, then obviously we'll be able to wear teams out and just be able to keep that ball and just a calmness within the Liverpool team, because it's just chaos at this moment in time when you watch us. Anyway, moving on, let's look at the left wing. Luis Diaz, probably one of the rare shining lights against Brighton, one of the rare shining lights this season, in all honesty. Actually, so going back to the midfield, I'll talk about Diaz in a minute, although most of it's pretty obvious and self-explanatory. He is one of our best players. There is obviously discussion to chuck Harvey Elliott in here, and I fully expect Harvey Elliott to start tomorrow's game, and I'm in front of Trent if Trent plays, and I fully expect Rangers to be able to exploit this right-hand side, because Harvey Elliott, for me, I don't see him in any of these positions. I certainly don't see him as a defensive midfielder. I don't see him as a number 8. I'm watching that Manchester United game yesterday. I watched it with so much envy. That Manchester City team were just incredible. And I watched the comparisons between Harvey Elliott and Phil Foden. And a lot of people will go, look, Phil Foden is a level above Harvey Elliott. We can all agree on that. But if Harvey Elliott was in that Manchester City team, would he be tasked with tracking back a Cancelo or a Kyle Walker? No, he wouldn't. I'd imagine he'd probably be on that left or on that right-hand side if Pep Guardiola was going to play him. You do it in a similar way that he does with Phil Foden. So I just don't want to see Harvey Elliott in defensive positions anymore. He's got a lot of talent. I want to see him further up the pitch, closer to goal. He's a very clever player in and around the penalty area. So I want to see him up here. He might not have that pace, but you don't always need to have electric pace to be a good attacking footballer. So I just feel that this midfield, certainly these two, Arthur and Thiago, and obviously Fabinho, in an ideal world, would be here, and I think that would be a really, really strong midfield three. I just feel like that to me screams a European, a Champions League level midfield, something that we're just lacking, in my opinion. But on that left hand side, Luis Diaz, our best attacker. He's aggressive, he's direct, he's running at people, he's cutting inside, he's an absolute menace. And I just want to see these two develop more of a partnership. I want to see Tsimikas play as much as he can between now and when Andy Robertson returns from fitness, because I don't feel that him and Robertson really have much of a partnership. So I do feel that there is an opportunity, if Tsimikas is given that opportunity and does take it, to really become the number 1 left back. Now then, right wing. Egyptian King, Mohamed Salah, not for me. I thought he was okay at the weekend against Brighton, especially in the first half. He ran his absolute arse off, in my opinion. He's come under a lot of criticism about his pressing. I didn't really notice that. I haven't felt that this season. I thought he's worked incredibly hard. He's pressing people, he's chasing people down, but it's not working, and for whatever reason. And he tends to be really, really far out wide and just not being able to get into games. What I liked in the first half against Brighton is he was up here, he was through the middle. It felt like, Firmino was dropping off and he was just on the shoulder of the last defender and he was causing chaos. And then as the game wore on, he just seemed to go back out here and it just was not working. I don't know if Mo Salah needs a rest. I don't think he needs to be dropped in terms of, to send a message to him, you're not working hard or something like that. I think he is doing that, but it's just not working for Mo Salah. It's, like it's not working really for Trent or for Van Dijk or for Fabinho at this moment in time. We know these are quality players. We know that they're world-class players. It's just not working for them. I don't know why Diogo Jota is so much bigger than everyone else on this page. I've just suddenly realised. But give Jota a chance. He came on it. He started his first game against Ajax. Scores. He doesn't. I don't think he scores, does he? But I think he gets an assist. Gets an assist from Mo Salah's goal. He plays really, really well. He goes away on international duty. I think he played really, really well for Portugal. He said Holland. Then he gets a goal, which was great. He then had to come off because of fatigue. He didn't play against Brighton, or he came on with final 20 or so minutes to go. He's a very, very good player for me, Diogo Jota, and I don't always like seeing him on this right-hand side, so I'd rather see him through the middle or on that left. And actually, I'd be quite happy to see these two swap over, and I know maybe that might seem a bit redundant because you then stopping Diaz from cutting inside and shooting, but Jota on that left or through the middle, he's an absolute threat. I think you could then put Diaz on this right-hand side, and you've got that fluidity because who I'm going to put up top can play through here and he can play on the left. He's a very, very versatile player. But I just think Diaz on this right-hand side might also just offer a little bit more protection for Trent Alexander-Arnold. What I'm really looking for is a front three that are going to be incredibly fluid. And to do that, I think you have Darwin Núñez up top. I really feel for this guy. I just feel that this guy unfairly being compared to Erling Haaland. Look, it was always going to happen, wasn't it? He then gets suspended in his second game by headbutting the Crystal Palace player, which is no one's fault but his own, unfortunately. He seems a very, very rash player. However, we know he's raw. We know he's not the end product. We know he's not world class at this moment in time. Hopefully he'll get there one day. But there's no doubting in my mind this guy's talent. And I think he's a monster of a player, whether he plays on the left-hand side or through the middle. I think get the ball into the penalty area, he causes chaos. I think he will get you goals. I think he'll get you assists. He'll cause panic in the opposition defenders. And I really feel for him how he's being treated at this current moment in time. He's just not playing games. He came on with 1 minute of normal time remaining against Brighton. I thought it was such a ludicrous and laughable decision. Jurgen Klopp came out today in his press conference and said that him and Pep Lijnders, that's why I said Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Lijnders had a conversation with Darwin Núñez either today or yesterday. They had a big meeting to discuss his role and everything's fine. That to me says he's not going to play this game, or he's certainly not going to start. And I just think it's madness to me. We've got such an incredibly talented player. Look, I want to be respectful to Rangers because they deserve to be here. They are a good team, but they are not the creme de la creme of European or world football. They are a very beatable side, especially if they've got so many players out injured. Give this guy an opportunity. They might have a really weak defense tomorrow night. Darwin Núñez might come on or might start the game. He might score 2 goals. He might score a hat-trick. He might score 4 goals. I don't know. Or he might just score 1. He might not score at all. But if he give him a chance from the start of the game, and if he gets a goal, if he gets a couple of goals, if he gets an assist, even if it's against Rangers B team or whatever, it's only going to do him the world of good. And then, you can then take him out of the team if you want away at Arsenal and bring him on with sort of 20, 25 minutes to go if hopefully we're still in the game and we're not 5-0 down by that point. But this guy, I think, has just got so much talent. It also gives Bobby a bit of a rest because I'd imagine probably Firmino might start away at the Emirates at the weekend. So for me, this would be the team that I would go with. Rest Matip, so you bring in Joe Gomez. Van Dijk keeps his place. Hopefully, Konate is fit enough to make the bench. Be nice if Robertson was fit enough to make the bench as well. I don't know how far away he is from making the squad. Trent plays because simply there's no one else. I don't really want Gomez or James Milner playing at right back at this current moment in time. Take Fabinho out either just to give him a rest or whatever, because he's just simply not playing good enough football. Put Jordan Henderson in that number 6. I think he can play that position. He's done it before. He had a nightmare against Manchester United, but other than that, I think he can play that position well. And to be fair to him, against Brighton, I thought he was slightly one of our better players. Very, very mixed performance. Clumsy in places and then also very, very creative in others. Thiago needs another start, needs to get that rhythm going. Arthur Melo, give him a start. European night, let him get on the ball and pass the opposition to death. I think he's got the talent. Jota, Diaz, Núñez as a front three. It's very, very interchangeable. There's lots of movement. Like I said, Jota can move over to that left. I think Diaz can even go through the middle at times. Nunes can certainly. All three players want to play on that left-hand side, and I think Jota and Diaz can rotate on that right-hand side. Just lots and lots of movement. Really confuse the opposition defenders. Don't get to a point where it's all just too static, and that's what it feels like with Liverpool at times. You've got Salah on that right-hand side, you've got Diaz on that left, you've got Firmino through the middle, or Nunes through the middle sometimes, and it's just a real lack of movement. What I want to see the first half hour in particular against Rangers, just those three, just interchanging, really causing so many problems for this Rangers defence. And hopefully we will come out with a victory. I believe we will come out with a victory. We're not in great form at this moment in time. You never really know what to expect. I hope to see a clean sheet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us concede within the first 6 minutes, unfortunately. But I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to go with Liverpool 3, Rangers 0. We need a clean sheet. Look, I believe they've lost 4-0 to Napoli and Ajax in this group already. So look, we're not talking about a top team in Rangers. This is a team that does concede goals. Celtic beat them 4-0 as well. Talking of 4-0s, I think Rangers won 4-0 at the weekend, actually, in preparation of this game. So they're coming into this with a little bit of form. But I do feel that Rangers are a beatable side. And although it's going to be an intense game, I think, in terms of physicality, and certainly the return game away at Ibrox with the atmosphere, we should be looking to take 6 points from this. And that will take us up to 9 points. And then realistically, or more than likely, we should be safe to go through to the next round of the Champions League, which is what we all want as Liverpool fans. But this was a little bit of a longer video than I wanted to. I ramble in these videos, trying not to. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on this starting 11. Is this something that you like? Is it something that you agree with? But yeah, let me know your teams down below. Also, Rangers fans, if you're watching, I apologise if I mugged your team off. Didn't mean to. Let me know your starting 11s for your Rangers team tomorrow night, and let me know how Rangers play. What are you expecting to see tomorrow when you come to our gaff? So yeah, 3-0 prediction, very, very bold prediction from me there. Let me know in the comments your starting 11s for both teams and your score predictions for tomorrow night's game. Hopefully Liverpool can come out with a much needed victory tomorrow night. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon.